Oh, 52. That's crazy. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? The big 5-2,
Man,
52 weeks, or 1 year of back to back to back fire, straight episodes, straight content, delivering it to the people. And now, here we are on episode 52 of the Block to Block Podcast, the best podcast in the world for all things Web3. Here we break down the technology, what's going on in the market, and the ways in which you can benefit. I am NFT and Jai,
and I am Web3 Wayne.
and over here the talk is different.
Always different. And we've been doing it for 51 weeks, so we wouldn't stop in week 52. And that's letting you know that this podcast is for informational purposes only. Listen, we are not responsible. We are not liable if you lose your cheese, cheddar, mozzarella, provolone. So please consult a financial advisor or any other financial professional that can help you double, triple, quadruple your money. And with that, let's get the show started.
Let's get it started here on episode 52. This is a momentous occasion because
Yes,
this
sir.
is our 1 year anniversary of doing Block to Block.
Yeah, it ain't no small 1 year. You know what I'm saying? We did an episode every week slash almost every week, and in the weeks we missed, we made up for those weeks. And man, look, listen, it took a lot of dedication, a lot of planning. We do other things outside of just the show. So man, this is just a moment of celebration for us to be able to say, hey, we were committed to this thing for a year. There were a lot of great moments that we're here to celebrate today for this episode. And I'm just excited to recap, but then also excited for what's to come, man. Some great things on the way, man. I'm loving it.
Absolutely, absolutely. When we started this podcast about a year ago, like the whole Web3 world was just like in a frenzy, right? Before this thing called Chat GPT and generative AI came out, like Web3, like crypto, blockchain, NFTs, all those buzzwords was like dominated the news cycle.
Yeah.
And even though it had a lot of media attention, not many people actually knew what this technology meant in terms of like how it worked from a technical aspect to more importantly, how does it have an impact on our daily lives? And so we decided, like, let's start a podcast that's focused on ensuring that we're able to just break it down and make this entire space a lot more accessible to everybody. Because, beforehand, before we came on the block, all you had was either respect to everybody. We're not calling out nobody, but we have to be real. You had either like your super duper duper enthusiastic tech nerds. It was like, yeah, man, non-fungible tokens, da na na na. Or you had the other side of the spectrum being like the crypto bros, like basically like your frat bros who are all into crypto, like, yeah, man, I just bought some Shiba Inu and some Dogecoin and na 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 na. Like there was like really no space for like the everyday person who just wanted to know like what this stuff was and really like how it can impact them. And that's why we decided to come in, and just doing the way that we did with like a weekly show, bringing on guests and everything in between, add a little flavor to the sauce. And here we
Yeah. Yeah. Nah, for sure. No shade though, but yeah, it was definitely this Web3 space for a long time was looked at as like this anti space, right?
Mhm.
This space for not for the everyday person. And I think, what we talked about a lot is the fact that that's kind of how all innovations start out, right? All technologies is, it's going to be those people who are, willing and that want to engage with like these new innovative things. They're going to be the first ones to the table and saying, hey, let me try this thing out. But what we know is that at the end of the day, there is such a thing as the mass market, and there is such a thing as making money.
Mhm.
And, eventually that means that there needs to be one, some way for this technology to get into the broader economy, broader ecosystem, which,
Right.
we've talked about on this show of, companies like Starbucks, like Reddit, that have kind of taken on these different approaches of integrating Web3 technologies into what they do. We also know that there needs to be some way for people to stay up to date and, just get a really high level breakdown of what's going on. Right. I think half the battle a lot of times is just keeping track of everything that's going on in the market,
Yep.
because things move fast, especially in this world of technology.
Extremely fast.
From week to week is going to be crazy. And you could see that from our show, just within the past year, right? From week to week, things just developed and came out. Around when we started, it was a few months after kind of the first domino of the Terra Luna,
Mm,
and that whole situation, and that was kind of the first domino effect where we seen that crypto winter start to kick off. And then when we came in, NFTs were downtrending.
mm,
These DeFi protocols were under attack, and people were really trying to, just get to the nitty gritty of that. And then you see kind of just slowly, as we progress, FTX happened and things kind of turned on its head,
yeah.
right? And what you see with our show is just that progression as well of, us talking about a lot of things that's going on with, US based companies. And then things slow down, and it's negative press, and companies are shutting down. We had to expand, our reach in terms of looking for certain topics to talk about, and making sure that you guys are still getting the news on what's going on in this Web3 industry. And so you'll see, more stories about Abu Dhabi, about China, Hong Kong, about understanding these different ecosystems, including the U.S., and like how that, as maybe an entrepreneur or somebody that's like looking to get into the space, like where are the positive trends when it comes to this industry, when it comes to this new technology. And even going to our more recent episodes where you know we see the smoke start to clear a little bit, the dust start to settle a little bit, where cases are being taken to court with Coinbase, and more engagement from the SEC, and them giving a little bit more guidance. Like, it's definitely been a journey, man. 52 weeks of just following this market that has been up, down, left, right, round and round, and so it's just amazing to get to this week 52, um, and being able to reflect on just the progress that um, that's been made, right? And just how time really is, this thing that you just kind of go with. But yeah,
Yeah. So
crazy.
absolutely. And with that, I do want to transition into just like some of the biggest lessons that we've learned throughout this experience. And you just encapsulated it perfectly. There's a need, like whenever you're in a space, wherever you're in your industry, there's a need of having that balanced viewpoint of the short term slash micro picture and the long term slash bigger picture, right? Because as you mentioned, like every week, like something was going on. So, for example, we literally had like I believe it was episode 50 when we was talking about like Coinbase launching the base blockchain, and it was like exciting news talking about like, hey, this could be like a move that helps really with like the whole ecosystem and Coinbase's bigger plan to like onboard people into the space. And then literally the next week was talking about like how there was like a over 500 scam tokens, crypto tokens on that
Yeah,
blockchain, and how like over 2 million was finessed or stolen by fraudsters. And it's very easy to get caught up in like that short term, like, man, this is horrible. Like Coinbase is at a collapse, right? Like that could be going through your mind. But when you think about like the long term picture of like what's going on throughout the context of the year, it could be a much different scenario where it's like, okay, even though they're going through the short-term hurdle, on the long term, they're still positioning themselves in a manner that will allow them to really win at whatever they're trying to accomplish. And that's like the
Hmm.
biggest thing when it comes to the space. Like, don't get too caught up on like the week to week up and downs. Like, yes, it's important to be very well informed of what's currently happening, but you gotta like take that step back and think about like that bigger picture. So that's the
Hmm.
number one of the reason lessons that I learned was like balancing that short term versus long term viewpoint.
I think that's a great point of trying to find that balance. I think, to that point too is, taking notes of certain things and then coming back to it.
Yeah.
Along that same lines of, there's going to be certain stories that pop up, things you're going to see in the news. And, of course, it's going to dominate that news cycle for that week. And, like, best believe in 2, 3, 4, 5 months, it's going to come back around and there's going to be, something to take away from that time period, from the original story to this new story. And I think that's an important piece too of like taking in a certain story, taking it at face value, and then monitoring,
Yeah.
and letting that help you to shape how you're going to approach certain things, especially if you're entrepreneur. It's a good way to learn how to handle those difficult moments, how to handle those road bumps, those bumps in the road. So I think that's a great point. I think another thing, just another great takeaway from the show, is the amazing people that are building in this space. I mean, we had some amazing guests throughout the past 52 weeks from not only people that's entrepreneurs, but people that are in marketing and Web3, people who are building software tech that may not necessarily be uh, you know inherently Web3, but it's going to help to usher in a new generation of the internet. To people that are building DAOs, people that are have nonprofits, Web3 education. Like there were so many amazing people doing different things. Um, you know, Especially people that look like us, that are of the minority speed, right? You don't usually see those stories being told. So it was amazing to learn what knowledge that they're pulling from, right? Where they're spending their time, what they're building, and really just listening to the gems that they drop. I think that one thing that you and I talk about, right, is like how crazy the journey is in general when it comes to entrepreneurship. It's a very underrated part of it. It is the toughest part, but it is also the most rewarding part. Is
Right.
the journey and the things that you learn.
Yeah. And along that same vein of the types of entrepreneurs or founders that we've been interviewing too, I think one of the biggest things we want you all to take away from just our podcast and the people we highlight is this technology and technology in general is just a tool, right? I believe when Web3 really started getting a lot of mass media attention, people got so caught up on like the technicals of like how everything works from a technical aspect. But you guys hear me say this a million times on a podcast, right? If I ask you how the internet works, you're not going to say, oh, it's a network of interconnected servers and there's these different protocols like a internet protocol and packets. And you're not going to say all of that. You're just going to say, hey, connect to some Wi-Fi, go on Google, and like use this as a tool to like really help you search for or really do what is it that you want to accomplish. That's the exact same spirit that we want everybody who's watching this to take away. All these things with in terms of like how blockchain technology works and crypto and NFTs and the entire gambit, it's just tools. That's all it is. But with a tool should be able to help you really solve an issue and accomplish whatever goal that you have, right? So, for example, when we had Garrett on the podcast and he had his company Thurman Labs, like they use like dial technology to like really help with their business. But what really mattered was, hey, we want to solve this issue of small black owned companies or businesses not getting access to the capital that they need to really grow their business and to like scale and solve solutions. Like the technology aspect was cool, but it was just a tool within like the bigger story, the bigger picture. And that's what we all need to get to as a mass society. And as watchers of Block to Block, you're really at the forefront of that race because you're starting to see on a weekly basis, yo, this is how the technology works. This is what's going on in the market right now. And these are the ways in which I can benefit from this information. So just keep that mindset in your head of how, okay, understand it to the point where you may understand the regular internet, but like see how this technology can help you fulfill your passions.
I love that. I love that. Um, yeah, and I think that that is a lot of our story, and we've talked about, our platform Timbuktu a couple times on here, as much as we could, especially from, standpoint of the events that we had throughout the summer, more events to come. Y'all
Throughout the
stay
year,
tuned
we have
throughout
events
throughout
coming
the
too.
year,
Yeah.
for sure, throughout the year. And so, with our platform, I think that was one of the things that we had to continue to, you know, move towards, if that makes sense, right? Is It's a constant, just iteration and progression to really finding, hey, this is the right mix between, hey, this is new innovative technology, and this is what makes sense, and this is what works for the people. And I think that what that's allowed us to do for our platform Setup too is really, you know, build out something that speaks to the people. And we're still, working on, fine tuning and, bringing that mass appeal to it. But our approach has very much been, hey, how can we get in front of people? How can we get feedback? How can we make sure that we are building something that, one, makes sense, so it's solving some problem and people truly see it as a solution. Two, is user friendly, so as people, come onto the platform, they can, inherently, intuitively interact with our platform and say, hey, this is, um, as easy as, these Web2 websites, right? As your websites of the present slash past. And three, figuring out where those new opportunities may lie with the technology, and looking at what new technologies are out there for people that are building. I think that's been a fun thing from my standpoint with Timbuktu, is finding out, like, oh, what this is, this new thing that this person is building, that's like supposed to help developers, do X, Y, and Z, and make this more user friendly, and yada yada yada. So that's been great from the standpoint of building out Timbuktu. And we've been building out pretty much in tandem with Block to Block. So, it's also been great to see how things that we learn that's going on in the market helps to shape how we approach building out our platform. Um, and it's been interesting to watch, and interesting to, put into practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the greatest things about this experience is like we're learning just like you all are, right? We're taking the time to do the research and present this information to you all, but we're not like the foremost experts who developed the blockchain to begin with and was part of the initiative to release Bitcoin to the world, right? Like we're taking the time to like read these articles, do the research, talk with founders, talk with people to just like truly understand like how this can be a benefit for us. So that's what's beautiful about this entire experience is as we continue to build out Timbuktu, as we continue to build a platform that can make an impact within the world, we're learning and we're executing. So always learn and always execute. I'm also excited to, in year 2 of this podcast, take the time for us to like introduce and even demo some stuff from Timbuktu platform and a bit more about what we're doing. We talked about our events. We talked about what is it that we want to do through the platform. But, as we continue to grow, we're just always honing in on our niche, right? And for us, what we really care about doing is allowing artists, creatives, and luxury brands to create and execute memorable experiences and manage the wealth that's tied to these high-end collectibles that we see within like arts, we see within fashion and much more, right? Where throughout our platform, you're able to like just verify the authenticity of these high-end collectibles and that you're able to like create and curate your own community throughout the platform and have these in-person events. And finally, like create a larger ecosystem really where creators are able to get royalties, where collectors are able to manage the wealth tied to their collectibles, right? Like really causing a lot of disruption in the space, and not even disruption, but elevation within this space of like how we perceive collectibles. And so that's what we're really building with Timbuktu, our digital center of culture, community, and commerce. And we are grateful for the opportunity really to present to you all just some of our experiences we've been having talking about Timbuktu a bit here on the podcast. But we're excited to like talk about it a lot more because over the year we just been developing, right? Building, working on getting it out to a point where you, the audience, can use it. So once again, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and also check out the Timbuktu platform in the description below. And yeah, let us know what you think. We're constantly like building and iterating. So if there's ways in which you believe that it can be a benefit for you, we're always happy to have those conversations.
Absolutely, absolutely. And on top of that, if you're listening to this, we'd love to hear from you about the Block to Block podcast, which you would like to hear more of, which stories you thought were best, which guests you would like to see back on the podcast again. What new guests would you like for us to get? Right, tag them below, tag them in the comments, and let us know who do you want to see on Block to Block. What free game Web3 game do you want to get in this year 2 experience? And so make sure y'all just letting us know. We want to hear from you in everything that we do. We want to make sure that the people that are listening, the people that we are working to serve, your voices are being heard. So make sure you guys are getting with us. You are letting us know exactly what you want to hear from the Block to Block podcast.
Yeah. So once again, thank you all for joining us in this 1-year journey. We're super appreciative for your viewership, for your support, and for joining our community. And we pray and hope that you're able to join us for many more years to come. So with that, I am NFT and Jai. Your audio went out, but he's Web3 Wayne.
Web3 Wayne. Gotta do it,
Peace.
man.
Happy 1 year to all of us.